It's like throwing spaghetti at a wall. Now that's a visual image, isn't it? Probably thinking, what in the world is Ralph going to talk about today? Well, just bear with me a second. You've got a fantastic business, right? You provide your clients with amazing value. Hey, your clients love you. But marketing feels like a scramble. Yes, it feels like throwing spaghetti at a wall and just hoping it sticks. For so many of us, you're busy one month and then, hey, the next month you've got an empty calendar. That feast or famine cycle is exhausting, isn't it? Well, here's a statistic. 82% of small businesses fail because of cash flow problems. And see, here's the problem. Inconsistent marketing leads to inconsistent revenue, and inconsistent revenue kills businesses. What does it do? It kills your cash flow. Picture this for a minute. It's Monday morning. You open your laptop. Your inbox is empty. It's a pit in your stomach, and you know it. Let me just tell you right now, friend, it doesn't have to be that way. What if marketing wasn't so random? What if you could build a predictable system and build a consistent flow of ideal clients? Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about on today's show. Welcome back to Grit and Growth Business. I'm Ralph Estep Jr., and I'm so happy you chose to join me again this week as we really work to build your small business. Now, if you missed last week's show, we talked about profit first principles. I'm going to give you a little secret. If you missed last week's show, you better go check it out because I showed you exactly how to make a profit from your first day in business. It was some game-changing financial health ideas. If you missed last week's show or you missed any of our shows, you can check them out right at gritandgrowthbusiness.com. And don't forget to download the action sheet as well. I'll talk a little bit later about how to do just that. Now, this week, we're talking about throwing spaghetti at the wall. Yeah, I think it's a great analogy. It's a great mental picture. We're talking about that missing puzzle piece for so many small business people, and that's scaling your marketing. Because here's the truth, and this is Ralph going to tell you straight up as it is. When I first started my business, my marketing was completely random. Yes, it was spaghetti against the wall. I remember when my two boys were young, they would play these stunts with SpaghettiOs. They would end up all over the kitchen. Well, in so many ways, my marketing was the same thing. I can remember back when I first started, I would have these bursts and surge of clients. And to be honest with you, at times I was too busy to even worry about marketing. But then the problem with that cycle is it dried up. And once it dried up on Monday morning, there's nothing in my inbox. What am I going to work on this week? Which leads to panic. And then I start doing these random frantic posts, these random ads, just buying this and buying that, making cold phone calls. You ever stared at your phone, wondering where the next client is going to come from? Because I've been there way too many times in my career. But here's a truth bomb for you. If you're always chasing clients, you're never going to have time to serve the right ones. And that's what I'm going to talk about today because so many of us just throw spaghetti at the wall. We hope something sticks. But for so many of us, we could really benefit from being strategic in our marketing. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. One of the biggest complaints I hear as I coach small business clients is, Ralph, I do a great job for my clients. My clients love me. They think my service is fantastic. But I just don't have a consistent pipeline of how to get people to my business. And I remember one month, listen, I've been in the trenches. Let me be very frank with you. I remember one month I was staring at QuickBooks and it was almost time for payroll. And I had nothing coming in. Nothing was lined up. And I felt really sick to my stomach. It was a tough day. And for so many, maybe you're listening right now, you're thinking, Ralph, I'm right there with you. Here's a great example of this. I had a client, had great service, great reputation. But again, like so many of us, their marketing was just sporadic. They were invisible. But here's the benefit. Here's the silver lining for today. Once they built consistency, their phone wouldn't stop ringing. Because here's the thing I want you to realize, and you got to understand and embrace this from the very beginning. Marketing isn't just getting clients. So many of us think, oh, marketing, I'm going to go land those sales. I'm going to go build this pipeline. That's really part of it. But what it's really about is building that predictable engine. Hey, think about this for a second. You go out in the front, you open up your car door, you sit down, you turn the key. You better hope it starts, right? Well, your marketing needs to be that same thing. It needs to be predictable. It needs to be that predictable engine that works as soon as you turn on the key. But bigger than that, and this is what I really want to focus in on today, is finding the right clients and finding them consistently. Because it's one thing to get clients, it's another to find the right clients and to find them consistently. But let's talk about the hidden cost of inconsistent marketing. That's what I really want to spend a few minutes on right now because so many people don't get this. There are huge hidden costs to not doing marketing correctly. Let's talk about those. And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, as I was preparing for today's show, this was like a self-reflecting moment. So for you, it might sting a bit because I know it's stung for me. First one is this. You're constantly in this feast or famine cycle. So many of us have been there. Listen, I've been there. You've got those good months. Hey, numbers were coming in. I've got new clients signing up. It's crazy. I'm so busy. I don't know how I'm going to get all the work done. But then you've got those slow months. You're looking at your bank account. You're looking at the checkbook and saying, I don't know how I'm going to make payroll, Ralph, this month. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I'm not going to pay those suppliers that I need to pay. And the problem is for so many of us, when you're busy, you know what the first thing you do? You say, I don't need to spend money on marketing. The things I do in my small business accounting practice is I look at clients' business financials on a monthly basis. One of the things I can tell you is I'll look by month to month how much they're spending on marketing. And then I'll see, wait a minute, why are there so many fluctuations? And as soon as I see the fluctuation in marketing, I look up a little bit and I see the fluctuations in revenue as well. Because for so many of us, when we're busy, we just put marketing to the side. I don't have time to build that marketing right now. I don't have time to build those lead magnets. I don't have time to build that pipeline of revenue. But the problem is when you're not investing in that, your pipeline just dries up. And listen, I found this statistic, and this was really fascinating to me. It said this, 63% of small businesses say inconsistent marketing is their biggest growth barrier. So think about that. 2/3 of business people recognize that inconsistent marketing is their biggest growth barrier. And here's the problem for so many of us. You might be listening right now. You're like, Ralph, this is me. Random acts of marketing create random results. So if you're not consistent, if you're not building that consistent pipeline, you're not going to have anything but randomness. And if it's random, hey, if you're throwing spaghetti against the wall, you're hoping something sticks. Well, your results are going to be the same way. So that's the first thing, this feast or famine cycle. Maybe you're thinking, Ralph, you can stop right now. Don't even go forward, but I'm going to continue. The second thing, and this one is tragic for so many small business clients. You're attracting the wrong clients. For so many of us, we cast this wide net. The problem is with that wide net, it drains our resources. And honestly, when we look at the bottom line, it's unprofitable for our business. I don't know how many times I've said yes to work. Oh yeah, I'll take that client. Back in my head, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this isn't going to be a good fit for me, but hey, I need that revenue dollar. So ask yourself right now, how many times have you said yes to work later that you all in the end regretted? Because every bad fit client you take on, listen to this. I want you to hear this loud and clear because so many small business people, and listen, I'm going to take a side here for a second. I remember when I first started my business, I was in the market, man. I wanted to get every single client I could. And a mentor said to me one time, he said to me, Ralph, you're going to get to the point where you're going to pick your clients. They're not going to pick you. And I said, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. The customer's always right. I'm looking for every piece of business I can get. And I guess about 5 or 6 years into my business, I realized that guy was right all along. Because we have to be cautious in the clients we pick. And like I said, every bad fit client you take on is going to steal your energy. And the problem is, guess where it steals it from? It steals it from the great clients that are waiting for you. Those clients that will pay you more. Those clients that will be consistent. Hey, those clients that'll refer other people to you. So think about that for a second. Number 2, wrong clients. Let's move on to number 3 on my hidden cost list. And that's wasted time and wasted money. We talked about this a few minutes ago. If you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, if you just have random ads and sporadic posts, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to waste your time and you're going to waste your money. I don't know how many people I see on a daily basis throwing up these Facebook boosts. Well, guess what? They don't work. They just don't work because they're not consistent. To be consistent in marketing, you've got to be consistent about that. You can't send a post here and there and expect that to be this pipeline generating revenue for you. Let me ask you a question. How many times does your marketing feel like gambling? Seriously, like you're going to the casino, you're betting it all on black, throwing the money down and hoping something happens. But see, marketing shouldn't be that. Marketing shouldn't feel like gambling. It should feel like an investment. If you're really doing your marketing well, it's just like investing money. You're going to see a return on that. Hey, when you put money in the bank or when you go call your broker and pay for an investment, what's your expectation? Your expectation is you're going to make money on that. Well, your marketing needs to work the same way. If you're betting on money every time, you're not going to get anywhere. So that's number 3, wasted time and wasted money. Number 4, and this one is so critical for so many small business clients, and that's invisible expertise. I don't know how many clients I've worked with, but they're amazing at what they do. Maybe they're a plumber, maybe they're an electrician, maybe they've got a great service, they've got a great product, but nobody knows what they do because their marketing is so inconsistent. There's no consistency to it. There's no pipeline to it. So nobody knows what they do. And the problem with that is opportunities are just constantly passing you by. But here's the thing. Stop being the best kept secret in your industry. I want to say that again because it's so very critical. Stop being the best kept secret in your industry because guess what? It's killing your growth. You've got to be visible. Marketing is all about visibility. When you talk to true marketing experts, what they're going to tell you is it needs to be consistent and you got to remain visible. So that's number 4, invisible expertise. And number 5 is difficulty scaling. Really what this whole show today is about. Because if there's no flow, guess what? If there's no flow of consistent revenue, you can't hire people. And when you can't hire people, you can't build systems. And as I talked about a few shows ago, when you can't build systems, it's all falling back on you. And guess what? Like I said in the past, you are the bottleneck to your success and you end up stuck at this same level. You're just going through the motions because there's no consistency. If there's no consistency, you can't hire additional people. You can't scale chaos, and that's the problem. You can only scale systems. So you've really got to build a marketing effort that is going to be able to build that flow of people coming in the door so you can build those systems, so you can build that fantastic team to really take your business to the next level. Because like I said before, if it's just you, you're only going to grow so big because there's only so many hours in the day. So let me ask you now, which one of these pain points hits you hardest? And listen, as I was preparing for today's show, I had to really sit back and think, which of these pain points hits me the hardest? And I started, let's go through them again because I think it's so important. Feast or famine cycle. Like I said, I've been there so many times. I'll do some Facebook ads or I'll do some marketing on whatever those things are. I used to do a lot of print marketing because yes, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've tried everything. But I would live in that feast or famine cycle. And the problem is I would get so busy and then it would just fall off because I couldn't keep up with it. So I lived in that one. The second we talked about is the wrong clients. Hey, I'm guilty of that. I don't know how many times I've attracted the wrong clients. And the problem is when you really step back and look at this, what you'll find is those wrong clients are constantly draining your resources. They're using up all your team's effort. And the problem is when you really examine, are you making any money with that client? You're not. So that's the third one. Wrong clients. Hey, wasted time and wasted money. I don't even go there. I have spent so much on sporadic posts that did absolutely nothing. Number 4, invisible expertise. Listen, I'm going to toot my own horn here for a bit. I'm really good at what I do. I've worked with clients for 30 years. I'm amazing at what I do. You might be amazing at what you do as well. But if you're not consistent in your marketing, guess what? Nobody knows about it. Nobody knows you're out there. Nobody knows the benefits that you can give to them. I don't want to be that best kept secret in my industry. And listen, for me, it comes down to the 5th thing I talked about as well. And that's difficulty scaling. It was so hard for me to scale at first because I didn't have that consistent revenue coming in the door. I didn't have that consistent new client coming on board. So it was very hard to hire somebody new. It was very hard to scale the business. And I was stuck in that inability to scale chaos. And I was the bottleneck to my business. So all of those pain points hit me hard, but I want you to just think about those right now. But let's talk about how to change that dynamic because listen, this show is all about pointing out where we can do better. So I want to get practical and I want to talk to you about how scaling is less about hustle, but it's more about building a machine. So many people think that marketing is just this constant hustle, but it's really not that. It's about building a machine. So if you're ready to build a machine, let's get right into it. I'm going to give you some gritty action steps that you can take. Listen, you can do these right away. You don't have to wait at all. Each of these things is very easy to do. It might take a little time to roll it out. But let me just tell you right now, it is going to be super beneficial to your business. So let's get right into it. The first step, when I work with small business clients, the first thing we do, after I get to know your business, is define your ideal client. Because here's the thing you've got to remember. You can't talk to everyone, but talk to somebody. You can't talk to everyone because if you don't define who your ideal client is, you're just going to be this magnet for everything that comes in the door. And guess what? Not everybody can afford your services. And that was hard for me to understand at first. I said, hey, I'm doing a great service. These people really need me. But the problem is some people just can't afford your service. Some people can't afford your product. So you've got to really start off with defining your ideal client. Because here's the thing, and I read this statistic. I thought this was great. When you clearly target your ideal client, you will have 60% more profit. Think about that. How many of us would like to have a 60% better profit margin? So I want to start with an exercise. And I just want you to stop what you're doing right now. I want you to take just 60 seconds. Give me 60 seconds, and trust me, this will be impactful to you. I want you to write your dream client's name. Just write it down on a piece of paper. I want you to write down their job, and I want you to write down their biggest struggle. This is what's so important for so many small business clients. This is one of the first things I do when I coach people. And I talked about my coaching service a little bit later in this show. But if you really want to change the dynamic of your business, specifically, if you want to change the marketing dynamic of your business, you've got to start by defining your ideal client. So take that 60 seconds, write down your ideal client's name, write down their job, and write down their biggest struggle. Because guess what? That's what's going to define your marketing plan. I'm going to give you an example of this. A restaurant that says food for everyone is not going to be very effective. Versus, think about this one, fast vegan lunch for under 15 minutes. They know who their ideal client is. Now, vegan's not for me. I want to be very honest with you. I'm a beef eater. But if this particular restaurant wants to grow in that market, how much better is that advertising? Fast vegan lunch in under 15 minutes. Who's going to win the attention? Food for everybody or fast vegan lunch under 15 minutes? Listen, if I'm not a vegan, I'm not going there. But that's great because I'm not their ideal client. You don't want a beef eater in a vegan restaurant. But listen, if I'm a vegan, I'm seeing that. I'm going, where do I sign up? Where do I go next? So I'm going to ask you, can you picture your ideal client right now? If you don't know who your ideal client is right at this moment, stop what you're doing, stop listening right now, and go figure that out. Because your marketing will never be effective until you're marketing to your ideal client. So start there. Now I'm going to move on to the second step. So once you know who your ideal client is, you've got to choose one or two channels to reach them. You can't be everywhere. And trust me, I've tried this. I've tried Facebook. I've tried Instagram. I've tried TikTok. I've tried print. I've tried radio. I've tried all of those things. You've got to find who your ideal client is and then go find where they are. And see, that's so hard to do sometimes. We think, oh, our ideal clients are everywhere, but they're not. If you want to be effective in your marketing, you've got to stop being everywhere and you've got to pick exactly where your ideal client lives, where they breathe, where they interact, because guess what? That's where you're going to reach them. Maybe that's LinkedIn for you. LinkedIn's a great product or a great channel for business customers. Hey, maybe for you it's TikTok. Maybe you're offering a product or service that's going to appeal to the people who watch TikToks. It's a bit addicting to me. But there are people that out there, listen, my wife is one of them. She likes to get on TikTok and she'll say, Ralph, you're never going to believe this product I found. Well, the marketing people understand who they're marketing to. Maybe for you, it's local marketing. Maybe online and social media doesn't work at all. You got to get feet on the ground and go out and knock on doors. Hey, for somebody, it might be email marketing. Maybe your specific ideal customer is on email. And here's something I want you to hear. If you can't maintain it weekly, guess what? It's not your channel. It's just not. This is one of the big tests that I put my small business coaching clients through. When you find the marketing channel that works best for you, you should be able to maintain this weekly because you're going to have content. You're going to have ideas to put there. I tried this. I tried all the platforms. It was like throwing spaghetti at the wall. I'm probably thinking, Ralph, stop saying that. But I think it's so important to think about because you're just throwing it up against the wall. It's sporadic. And guess what? I wasn't getting any results. But once I really refined that focus and I said, okay, here's my ideal client. Here's where my ideal client hangs out, where they live, where they do business. Once I did that, my results exploded. And guess what? So can yours. So let's move on to the third step. So you've identified your ideal client. You've decided where they live, where they breathe, where they work. Third step, you've got to build a consistent content calendar. Random acts equals random results. Clients need regular touch points. I don't have the statistic right in front of me, but people in marketing say this to me all the time. I do a lot of calls with people who want to sell me products. And the truth is, People have to hear your product time and time again. I could be driving down the road. You might hear about my accounting services. You might not have interest in those accounting services right at the moment. But then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, you get an audit notice from the IRS. You're like, I need to call that dude. And then initially you said, oh, wait a minute. I keep on hearing this ad on the radio for this guy. Your potential clients need those. I read a statistic. I thought this was great. It said that consistent blogging will lead to 67% more leads. What did it say there? Consistency. It's not random. You got to build a content calendar. This weekly plan could look like this. Maybe you're a podcaster like me. You want to post a podcast episode every week. Be consistent about that. One of the big things in podcasting is you have to be consistent because people are going to anticipate that. You don't want to let them down. Maybe you're a blogger. Make sure you're posting that thing once a week. People will grow interested in that. Or maybe on your calendar, you want to do 2 social posts a week. You're going to do 2 Facebook things. People become accustomed to that. It builds that routine. Maybe for you, it's a newsletter. You want to send a newsletter out every week or every 2 weeks. It all comes down to building that plan and make sure you're maintaining those regular touch points. Because here's the thing I want you to hear. Trust isn't built in the big moments. So many people think that trust is going to be like, I'm going to send this one advertisement out and it's going to set the world on fire. Everybody's going to call. The phones won't stop ringing. That just isn't reality. Trust isn't built in big moments. It's built in small, consistent ones. Think about your marriage. Maybe you're married. If you're not married, maybe you're in a long-term relationship. That trust is not built on the first date. It's built on the second date and the third date and maybe the 300th date. That's why it's so easy to break that trust. But marketing is the same idea. What marketing really is, in my personal opinion, is you're building up a trust with your potential customer. And it's not going to happen overnight. And I'm going to tell you right now, the other benefit to this is batching content. Because a lot of people think, well, because you're going to get busy. But if you have that content calendar, like for me, this episode comes out once a week. I already have the episodes planned out for the next several weeks. I do 2 other podcast shows. I've got a big content calendar, but it helps me stay consistent and I can plan those ahead of time. I don't have to sit there and scurry every morning and say, what am I going to post today? Well, if you're a business owner, you've got to think the same way. You've got to have that stuff planned out ahead of time because it's going to help you reduce your stress. And then the 4th piece to this puzzle, which is extremely important, and I've talked about this a little bit on the show before, is you've got to build up a follow-up system. You got to know what's working. Not everything is going to work for you. And you need to make sure those leaks aren't falling through the cracks. Because if you don't have a plan and people generate those leads, you're going to spend a lot of money and nobody's going to follow you because you're not going to follow up on those. 80% of sales need 5 or more follow-ups. I read that statistic. I was like, that's amazing to me. But 80% of sales to really get from the beginning, that lead generation, to the closing, take 5 or more follow-ups. But here's the problem, is the other sad statistic. When I read this, I was heartbroken. 44% of business owners quit after just 1. Are you that business that gets that lead? You just send out one thing and say, hope it sticks? Throwing that spaghetti against the wall? Almost half of business owners report that they quit after just 1. See, fortune isn't just in the follow-up. Here's the secret to this. It's in the follow-up. And I can remember this in my own business life. There was a lead I almost lost. But because I did that second follow-up, in fact, in this one, I think it was like 5 or 6 follow-ups, that client ended up turning into thousands of dollars in revenue. They sent me this initial inquiry email. Hey, Ralph, we heard about you from a friend of ours. We're interested in your service. Well, my team, we got back to this person right away. Now, most people would have said, okay, fine. They reached out, I sent them back. But that's not enough. You got to follow up. Now, listen, I'm not saying become a pest because you can become a pest, but follow up in a routine way to do things. Set those dates on that calendar. Maybe you wait a week, maybe you wait a week or 2. Maybe you follow up in a different manner. If it's local marketing, go visit them. Say, hey, I was just checking in. I wanted to see how your business is doing. Because I know I did that, and it's led to some clients that have lasted for a great deal of time in my practice. Here's another thing. Step number 5 is once you've built this whole product, you've got to track your results, because I say this on my shows all the time. What gets measured gets done, and what gets measured gets managed. You can't guess at this. You've got to know what's working. the big pain points I see with a lot of clients that I work with, that I coach in small business, is I'll say to them, okay, what are you doing marketing-wise? Maybe they've got a great marketing plan. They're like, Ralph, I do this. They've got great consistency. Well, then I'll say to them, okay, how does that play out? And they're like, what do you mean? How does it play out, Ralph? Well, I do this and I do this. Okay, well, are you getting any leads from it? Well, I don't know, Ralph. You've got to have some simple metrics. And they don't have to be complicated. Things like leads per channel. If you put up a post on Facebook, how many leads did you get from that particular post? Look at your conversion rate. And then look at your cost per lead and say, are these things that what they say is the juice worth the squeeze? You've got to know those things. See, at one point I thought social media was working. But what I found is that email converted twice as high. So what did I do? I said, the heck with social media. If my email is working better, I want to focus my efforts on that. I want to work at writing better email content. I want to make it more impactful because that's where it was really working. Because here's the thing I want you to hear, and I want you to hear this loud and clear. The best marketing system works while you're sleeping. You might be thinking, Ralph, are you serious? Yes, absolutely. The best marketing system you will ever have works while you sleep. So those are the things. I'm going to go back over those one more time. These are the 5 action steps that you can take right away to start stopping to do this random marketing. Make these things actionable, and you can start working on these today. Number one thing, like we talked about, define your ideal client. That is so very critical. Stop what you're doing and figure out who your ideal client is. Second thing, pick 1 or 2 channels because you can't do them all. Trust me, I've tried it. You will get yourself stressed out and you will stop, and stopping isn't going to help you. So choose 1 or 2 channels and then build consistent content. Build that calendar out because you want to make sure that you're not being random in that. Sporadic is not going to get you anywhere. 4th step, like we talked about, build that follow-up system. Remember what I said, 5 follow-ups, 80% of sales. I just want to lean into this for a second because when I read this statistic, it was amazing to me because 44% of business owners just do it one time, but 80% of sales need 5 or more follow-ups. So make sure you build that follow-up system. And as always, track those results because remember what I said, what gets measured gets done. Don't guess. You've got to know what's working because that's where you want to spend your money. Now, maybe you've gotten to this point in the show and you're like, Ralph, I love this. This is great. This is exactly what I want to do. But man, I am not a marketing genius. Well, I am not a marketing genius either. But this show is all about helping you get your business to the next level. And today we talked about building systems, we talked about building consistency, and we talked about building predictability. So if this excites you, you're like, Ralph, I really love this. But maybe you're saying, Ralph, man, I'm so busy running my business. This is just overwhelming to me. Well, this is where my coaching comes in. I'll give you an example. I had a client who clarified their ideal client. That's what I work with. We do a 12-week basic coaching program. You can see that on my website. That's at gritandgrowthbusiness.com/coaching. I'm going to give it to you one more time. That's gritandgrowthbusiness.com/coaching. Anyway, I had this client. First thing we talked about, we started to work through this maturation of his business. We sat down and we decided who his ideal client was. In 90 days, we had doubled the amount of inquiries. Why? Because we went to the right places. We knew who that avatar was. We knew who that ideal client was. And I helped him do that. Put my arm around him. I said, hey, let's go to the next level. So if you feel stuck, you might be feeling right now, you might be saying, Ralph, I'm stuck in my business, man. All the things you talked about, those pain points, man, I checked every single one of those. It doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you got a broken system. So imagine 6 months from now that you have this clear pipeline, that you've got these predictable clients, you've got the right clients, you're in the right channels, you're doing all the right things. What does that look like for you? Does it look like freedom? Well, if it does, let's build together. I want you to book your discovery call with me right there. Listen, this is the way I start this process. 15-minute discovery call, absolutely free. I want to get to know who you are. I want to get to know your business because, like I said earlier, I want to make sure you're a good fit for me, and I want to make sure that I'm a good fit for you. You can schedule that discovery call by going to gritandgrowthbusiness.com/coaching. Again, that's gritandgrowthbusiness.com/coaching. Stop guessing. Been doing this kind of stuff for 30 years. I've got a proven track record of helping other people. I can help you too. So book that call today at gritandgrowthbusiness.com/coaching. Now, maybe you're not ready for that coaching call, but you need that jump start. Every week, I develop an action plan sheet. Now, I did one for today's show as well. I'm going to encourage you to go get that. You can get all of our action sheets at gritandgrowthbusiness.com/action. Again, that's gritandgrowthbusiness.com/action, because listen, in that action sheet today, it's a great one. This is one you definitely want to get. And here's a little secret. Once you get today's action sheet, you can get all the prior episodes as well. So you can put it all together, mix all this together, and get a great business. But in today's action sheet, I want to help you identify your ideal client. I want to help you choose the core channels that will work best for your business. I want to help you build a calendar. And most of all, I'm going to help you track results. In just 15 minutes, I can give you clarity to help your business grow. Now, if you're not ready for that action call, again, I'll encourage you, book that discovery call if that works for you, but at least download the action sheet today, and you will find it to be super helpful for your business. Again, that's gritandgrowthbusiness.com/action. Marketing isn't luck. So many people think, Ralph, it's like going to the casino. It's hitting the lottery. Marketing is not that. Marketing at its very core is strategy. The other thing I need you to hear today, marketing isn't a sprint. So many people think, I'm going to run, I'm going to get to the end. Marketing is a machine. You got to build it. We talked about that car engine. You go out there and you turn that key, it starts. Your marketing needs to work the same way. Build that machine and let it run. Build that system. Transform your client flow, because listen, I know you've got this. You've got the grit. Now let's go get the growth. And I'm here walking with you every week to help you get that small business and take it to the next level. Now, next week, I want to encourage you to join me. We're going to talk about automating for freedom. I got a great show planned for next week. We're going to talk about how to build more personal freedom and more business success by automating. It's going to be a great show, and I don't want you to miss it. I'm going to talk to you about how to work less and accomplish more. And hey, who doesn't want to do that? So make sure you subscribe to the show. You can do that at gritandgrowthbusiness.com. Again, that's gritandgrowthbusiness.com. So go out and do these things today. Put the ideas into action, because intentions are great, but actions are where it matters. So God bless you, and I'm going to plan on seeing you again next week for more Grit and Growth Business. Let's get to it.